Hi, my name is Lim and this is my limpressions of Hardware Rivals on PS4. This game is currently free with PlayStation Plus for the month of January. Hardware Rivals is a sequel to Hardware Online Arena, which came out on PS2. It's an arena, team-based vehicle combat game along the lines of Twisted Metal. The game consists of 5v5 battles and is easy to jump into games with friends thanks to streamlined and clutter-free menu system. As you can see from the combat, the gameplay is pretty basic. It basically boils down to driving around looking for very powerful weapon pickups. Speaking of which, I feel like this is one of the game's biggest weaknesses. There is only a small handful of pickups, which isn't nearly enough for a multiplayer only game, and there's only a couple that you actually want to be using. There are also hidden weapons unique to each of the 4 maps that come with the game at launch. When you get a weapon, there's a countdown, and anyone on the map that couldn't hide inside are instantly killed. In close deathmatch games, this can be enough to turn the tide of the game in your favour and gives a little bit of extra depth to the game. To talk further about the gameplay, aiming the weapons while driving is hard. Due to it being an online only game with only 4 modes, I don't want the game to be easy straight away. There is a learning curve to the combat which I feel works in its favour. However, that doesn't excuse the quite frankly terrible handling of the vehicles. There are 2 vehicle types, jeeps and tanks, and each handle slightly different and require different tactics. The tank is slow, clunky, and it takes a beating with super high hit points. The trade-off for this is that the aim is far slower, but the weapon is incredibly powerful. The jeeps are fast and nimble so that you can hopefully outrun the tanks, but they are weaker and has a less powerful main weapon. All of the vehicles still feel like you're controlling a boat that's been placed in the middle of a city. It's just awful and it's incredibly unresponsive. To try and keep you around, the game has an XP system which is earned from completing games. The XP is used to buy small incremental upgrades and cosmetics for your cars and characters. The upgrades give you abilities such as being able to lock onto your opponent a little faster. However, in the time spent in the game, as you learn the mechanics and the gameplay, you don't really notice the small upgrades, and I didn't feel like they aided me in getting more kills. As this game is a small indie title, I didn't have high expectations for the graphics or the sound design. This was probably for the best. I'm a fan of the clean, minimalist menu screens, but the game, as you can see, the map and the vehicle designs leave a lot to be desired. The cel-shaded map helps give the game a bit of personality, but the scenery is empty and dull, and each map has little of interest to look at. Also, the sound design is very basic. The explosions are unsatisfying, and the kills don't have the feel that they should. Multiplayer games live and die based on their community. I played this on the day it came out and struggled to find enough people to fill a match. It's not a great sign for a game that just came out and is free. The lack of modes and maps and bland visual design will hamper the game as well. It is enjoyable with friends, and seeing as it's free, it's worth jumping on for an hour or 2 with friends.